Welcome to Lesson 7 of East Main 101. I am your facilitator, City of Jackson, Tennessee Communications Director Kenneth Cummings. And for today's lesson, we have the Director of the Office of Financial Empowerment, Tyler Carr. Tyler, welcome to Lesson 7. Man, we had a few takes. It's fine.
It's okay.
It's okay. Welcome to Lesson 7. I appreciate you coming on. So, Tyler, again, he's the director of the Office of Financial Empowerment. So let me read a bio about Tyler real quick. Tyler Carr is a native of Chester County. He graduated in 2008 from Chester County High School and went on to college at UT Martin. Tyler took about a year off from school, and during this time, he met his now wife and still best friend, Lindsay Carr. Best friends. Wives are the best friends.
Man, she's the best.
She's the best. And they got married in 2015. Just before he finished his degree in social work at Union University. Tyler and Lindsay have lived in Jackson the entirety of their marriage, and they happily claim Jackson as their home. For almost a decade, Tyler has served the community in and around Jackson in a variety of professional roles. He has had the opportunity to work with hundreds of individuals in some of their most desperate moments of need, including homeless individuals, those in mental health crisis, domestic violence victims, incarcerated individuals, and that's just to name a few. He's also had the great opportunity to work with some of the most compassionate leaders in the many social service organizations in our city, and we do have a lot of those. Most recently, Tyler was employed as a certified financial counselor at the Financial Empowerment Center, and we'll get more into that later on. It's a program the city administered by the United Way of West Tennessee. He helped many individuals work through financial challenges and helped many others simply reach their financial goals. Tyler is honored to be in his current role as the director of the Office of Financial Empowerment for the City of Jackson. Working out of the mayor's office has granted him the ability to move forward with initiatives that he hopes will have long-lasting generational impact on the financial health of families all over the region. Tyler has dedicated his life to the service of others. He's motivated by and directed by his relationship with Jesus Christ. And for him, the greatest metric of success, personally and professionally, is loving others as well. Tyler Carr, Director of the Office of Financial Empowerment, thank you for coming on to Lesson 7 of East Main 101.
Dude, I'm so happy to be here with the Kenneth Cummings.
Oh my gosh. So I might put the in front of my name on my little title card at the bottom. It's just Kenny. Everyone knows me as Kenny. I appreciate you coming on, man. I remember when I was getting ready to start this whole podcast thing, I brought it up to you. You were probably one of the most excited about this. So I'm happy to have you on. You were actually one of the first ones I asked, even though it's Lesson 7. Just getting the timing right. You were one of the first ones I asked, and I'm excited to talk about financial empowerment to our citizens here in West Tennessee and Jackson.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's teach people
do
some
this,
stuff,
man. So you have from your bio, social work, it seems like that's your passion. You love to do it. So it's been a decade. What made you and what motivated you and influenced you to get in the social work era?
Okay. This is unscripted. You didn't know I was going to do this, but I have a pop quiz for you.
Oh, gosh.
You probably have a little leg up on this question where others wouldn't, but when I say social work, what kind of job do you think most people would think of, or do you think of? If you don't have an answer, it's okay.
So when I think social work, just off the top of my head and before I got into knowing really what it was, I would have said you work with kids.
Yeah, that's so funny. Whenever I started school at UT Martin, I was in the sophomore year, and they're doing the thing where, like, you have to make the decision moving into your junior year, right? It's like, gosh, I have no idea what I want to do. And someone pitched the idea of social work and essentially said, you get to help people, right? And I think that was essentially, I had the exact same thought about social work. It's like, Department of Childhood Services, like, that's what social work is.
That's all I thought it was.
And it's obviously not that. And you've already interviewed, actually. There's a couple of folks you've interviewed already for the podcast that are in social work, doing Parks and Rec and doing different things in the community engagement. And, So I say all that to say, like, I really didn't know what social work was on the front end, but the thing that I did know that I was passionate about was essentially just helping people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to do social work to do that, right? You can be in the finance department, you can be an engineer for the city, you can do all the different things that the city has to offer and be in helping type roles.
Yeah.
But social work has offered me more of a tangible way to help someone directly, and I don't know that I anticipated that, but it's been one of the fruits of following that path all the way through. So it's great, man. I love it.
Yeah, and like I joke, I think it was with Christy. It's, people say, what is social? Well, you're working socially, and social is, it's encompasses everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be just kids. You can do social work in a realm where people who are doing well off. So your driving passion, when you first got out of college, what was that first thing that you did? Because I guess, I don't know if it was later on, but you started working with RAP in the Safe Hope Center. But after college, when you realized, okay, I can get into social work, what was that thing that you got into?
Yeah, so it's kind of fun. During school, I worked at Pathways actually as a psychiatric technician.
Okay.
That was before I had my degree, but I still count that as social service. Man, I was doing the social service work before I had my degree.
Okay.
My first job outside of school, though, was with the Area Relief Ministry, actually, working with the homeless population here in Jackson. And so there was an interim director at that point, but I worked with Fred and all the guys and the people down there, and that was interesting. I'd never worked with that population, and the classroom can only teach you so much, and so it was a learning curve, but it was worth it.
Yeah, and getting out in the real world, it's different.
Yeah.
Classroom, it's just, here's a sheet of paper, here's a test, here's what you learn about it. But getting out into the real world, it's the same thing with me in journalism. In class, it was what it was, but I needed to be out because what I wanted to do in journalism with the photography, I couldn't do it in the classroom. So it's good to actually be out to do the work. And with social work, you being in the office is it's not where you need to be because it's social.
That's right.
So, you
got it.
So you started off at ARM, and you moved from ARM. Where did you go before you got into the role that you are now? Where did you go after ARM?
Yeah, it gets kind of interesting because I've had several jobs. I'm 34 at this point. I've had maybe 4 or 5 different social service type jobs, which probably is atypical. I don't know, maybe for millennials, which I think I'm a millennial, that might be more popular to do, kind of hop around like that. But I've never sought out a different job. Things have always just kind of landed, and stuff to pray through, and I figured, try to make a decision on, intelligently about what to do moving forward. But after ARM, I then I came to work for the city for a little bit. I'm back at the city. Wow, that seems to happen to everyone.
Right, full circle.
Yeah, it keeps happening. Yeah, lots of people tell me that happens. Went to the city. I worked at the Safe Hope Center with domestic violence victims. And so we have a really cool thing here in Jackson. It's a family justice center. It has all services under one roof for folks that are going through that. And that was really special, especially to be able to be present as a male figure whenever typically the male is the perpetrator in those situations, and hopefully present to those that have been victimized, not everyone in the situation is always bad, not all men are bad, and not that I'm perfect, but that was really special. And after that, I moved on to work actually moved to the sheriff's office and worked we were trying to create a service called pretrial services. It's an alternative to jail time, and helped to get that program off the ground, and then moved to the Financial Empowerment Center, actually. Yeah.
So your bio said it, but you actually have done, you've done everything from working with the homeless to domestic violence to the sheriff's department. You have been social, and you've been working. So social work is your thing.
Yeah.
Please don't unfollow us for that joke. It was bad, I know.
That was a good joke.
But still, you've done it all, and it's now with the Financial Empowerment Center. It's a program that it started off. I'm mainly the communications part of it. Other people kind of helped steer it and bring it to what it is now. So the Financial Empowerment Center, you don't hear a lot of city governments getting into that realm of wanting to help people. And there might be other cities, but I live in Jackson. I focus on Jackson.
Right.
And we as a city, we're wanting to help people financially reach their financial goals. As a city organization, of course, help with the United Way actually doing the service for us. But we're different. We have a financial empowerment center where people can go and get financial counseling. So talk about your experience there as a certified counselor at the Financial Empowerment Center.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off something you said, because it is really unique that Jackson has a financial empowerment center for a few reasons. One is, our financial empowerment center actually is a pilot program for our size of city. And so nationally, this exists all over the nation. This isn't something unique to Jackson, but most of them are in large municipalities, right?
Yeah.
You have the Nashvilles with the however many thousands of people
Right.
and large budgets to handle that. And we were the first ones to have a rural approach. And so we're unique in that respect. And just hats off to people like our mayor who had the foresight years ago to say, if we can equip our citizens financially and get them to a stable position, it actually economically benefits the entire city base and the county
Right.
seat. And so he went after it way back when we got it. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to be a part of. It was fun to be, and it is fun to be a part of something so unique to Jackson.
Yeah, and for Jackson, of course, being the host city, I consider this like the capital of West Tennessee.
Yeah.
So we kind of, we're not Nashville, we're not Memphis, but Nashville as a metro area, they serve that entire county. Us being Jackson, the biggest city in West Tennessee outside of Memphis, we serve, the city for financial empowerment. We serve other cities, but there are a lot of organizations here like United Way. They serve West Tennessee. The Red Cross for this area serve West Tennessee, and most of them are based here in Jackson.
Salvation Army. You've got West Tennessee Legal. You've got RAP. I mean, several social. Yeah, you're right about that.
And they're based here in Jackson.
Yeah.
So, as financial, being financially empowered, it's or being financially stable or having the counseling of knowing how to work my money and not let my money work me. It's a big deal, especially with one of the reasons I believe that we have this, the organizations here that kind of are the opposite of what we're doing.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention them because I don't want to give them that type of day, but we have a lot of those here.
We do.
And I guess the Financial Empowerment Center is a way to try to keep people from having to use those services.
Yeah.
So just kind of talk about at the Financial Empowerment Center when you were there, the people you served, how it impacted you, what you saw, what you felt. Just kind of talk about that.
Yeah, man, absolutely, I can do that. I think just from a broad perspective, the folks that we worked with are just your everyday people, man. Just your average working mom and dad with kids.
And so you say your average working mom. So it's not just what people think, those who need the financial counseling. It could be people who have the means to live. They just want to better how they use their money.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone, but some of the folks I serve, they're working harder than people that are in big executive positions making lots of money. They're working 3 jobs and doing things, and that's not always a test case for that. But I mean, a lot of the folks I worked with absolutely are putting in the hours and grinding it out just to make a livable wage for them and their 2 kids or whatever the situation is.
So when it comes to the counseling part, a typical day when you were there, I'm coming in, I sign up for and we'll get into this later, you sign up for it, you get counseling for free. It's offered to everybody for free, I think 18 and up. So I come in there, I want counseling. What happens when I go in to get counseling?
Yeah. So you got it. So it's free, it's one-on-one professional counseling, and it's free. I love to say free twice, so it's doubly understood.
Yeah.
So when folks come in to that first session, at least, a lot of it's just intake stuff. We're getting demographics, we're getting an understanding of where your budget is, what do your expenses look like, what's your cash flow like, are you spending more than you're bringing in, what's your debt look like, and then it deviates a little. What are your interests, what are you trying to accomplish? Oh, you're trying to build credit, you want a house, okay, well, can we pull your credit report, which is a service the financial empowerment offers as well. It's a free to the client at least. We can look at the credit, and so all of it's all encompassing. We get a broad picture. And then what's neat, and I just want to say that there's several financial institutions in town, banking institutions, that have something kind of akin to a financial counselor. But the thing that's unique about what we do from that point is we intentionally have reoccurring sessions with those clients so that we can continue to push toward the goal that we set in the beginning. Oh, you wanted the house. Okay, well, we need to figure out the cash flow first. We need to work on the budget first. We need to work on getting your credit score up. There's several mile markers we need to work on before we get to the point where we have the capital to get the house, right? And so it's really strategic, it's really thought through, and for those clients that stick with us and stick with the process, I mean, dude, I just got my annual report from Jordan Howerton, who's the manager there now, and the numbers are great. With all the changeover we had last year, because I moved out of the position last year, and we brought on a couple new counselors that didn't counsel the whole year because there was a training process. Even still, we serviced 138 clients last year. That's families, not just individuals. I like to say 138 families. And of those families, it was something like almost $300,000 of debt paid off, around close to $70,000 of savings increased across the board. And I think the average credit score increase per individual is like 39 points. Jordan will have my tell if I'm wrong about that.
That's a big number. All those numbers are big.
It's impressive. It's impressive, and hopefully the numbers speak for themselves. That the Financial Empowerment Center is doing the work, and the clients are doing the work. Really, is what that is. So. And
you mentioned it, how there are financial. We hear it all the time. People talk about, the city doesn't need to build another bank. Of course, the city's not building these financial institutions. We just have them here.
That's right.
So we have these financial institutions, and some of them do offer this service. But again, as a city offering this free service, you don't necessarily have to have a bank account. You just want to know how to manage your money, and this service offers that. And so you mentioned the people can come in and have a sessions. How many sessions? If I come in, how many do I have? Like, is there up to 5, up to 10, or however many until I feel empowered financially?
Well, the end of your statement there is a little subjective.
Okay.
So I was going to say, Kenny, if you wanted to go over there and have a session, you could have 35, 50 sessions. At what point you feel empowered, I don't know the answer to that.
Right. Well,
but there's no cap on it.
Okay, there's no cap. So until I feel like, I'm better at managing, my funds, better at doing this. My goal was to, be able to save this amount. I reached that goal, but I don't have to stop there. I can come back and say, I want to do something else.
Well, for instance, last year we celebrated, and it's been public, and everyone's been celebrating one of our clients that got a house through Habitat. And she just kept hitting milestones, right? Like she hit session 20 and was still working on something. We're like, hey, we reached the goal. Are you done? She's like, no, I want to move into a house. And so like, I don't even know how many sessions she has, but what you said is exactly it. Like, when you get in the house, money stuff doesn't end, and there's always room to improve. So as long as you feel like the Financial Empowerment Center is empowering you and you're reaching the goals, then keep meeting with them. That's the mindset, I guess. Yeah.
So 138 families.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, we've been for 4 years now? 3 years, the Financial Empowerment Center. 138 families that you've reached. And when you say family, it's not necessarily just individual, but you've reached this number of people to be able to reach their goals. So when those who come in and have there been people who referred others? Is it a lot of people who just now know about it, but they're like, hey, this is great. Let me tell my cousin. Let me tell my friend. Have y'all had a lot of referrals?
All the time, dude. Yeah, and something else that's fun is we get that. We have partnerships with other entities in Jackson, the other social services, the Salvation Armies, the RAPs, the different things, and we're revamping some of those, but we get referrals that way. But those moments are fun when your client comes in and says, this is so good. I spent last night talking to my daughter about something about budget, how she needs to do such and, all those things get to be really fun. But yeah, folks will go back to their workplace and they'll tell someone, hey, oh my gosh, you got to go get this free service. It's fantastic. And
there's that word again.
Yeah.
Free service. I mean, it's.
You need a word count in the bottom
right,
of the YouTube
that's what
video.
we need. This
How
little
many times?
thing free. So the age cap was, I mean, you can be up to however, but like you start off 18.
18, you said,
18.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So have y'all had any youth that age 18 or I guess the youngest, maybe, if you know off the top of your head?
I think my youngest client would have been maybe 20, 21. They were in college, and so that's how I remember that. I don't remember if I ever had anyone that was 18, but it's one of those things. I was doing a presentation this week, I forget what day it was, and was talking about the service, and one of the women was like, I want my daughter to come. She was asking about the age, and she's like, well, she's 18, I want her to come. So yeah, we're totally open, and the earlier the better, right? If you can get on the front end of some of this, and maybe you know this personally, that has been my experience. It's like, man, if I had started on some of this whenever I was 15 or 14, and not whenever I'm a married man, it would be a different ball game.
It would be.
So, all 18-year-olds that listen to this, please come see the FEC.
Right. And it's, how much is it again?
I think it's free.
It's free. So, I mean, when it comes to talking about money, you kind of have to build a little trust. So we're telling people, hey, you come to this for free. It's my first time coming. I don't know any of y'all. I really don't want y'all in my finances, but I do. Someone referred me to you, so I want the help. How do you, I mean, you've decades experience in social work and in all these different fields. How do you build that trust with a person who comes in?
That's a good question. Rapport is a slow-moving thing, and it's built upon a lot of trusted acts, right? So there's a kind of a proving period of time where you're showing yourself approved, you're doing the things that you say you're going to do, and that's something that I say we, like I'm still a counselor. When I was a counselor, and our current counselors value a lot, is rapport, and those relationships are really deep and trusting. I mean, that's one of the ways that it makes it easier to talk about money, because money's just one of those it's a weird thing to talk about.
I know.
You start digging in the weeds, and the service is confidential, and there are even moments people told me things they were doing with their money that they couldn't tell the police they were doing with their money, and because of confidentiality, I couldn't really express that to authorities. But when you get to that level of rapport, because the individual is stuck in a situation where they're doing things like that that they know they shouldn't be doing, but they don't have any other options. But our rapport is so good that we can talk about those things and find a way to get past that and to get into better financial stability options. Like, the rapport is so important. It's so important.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's things like asking how your kids are and remembering certain big milestones, remembering the surgery the person was going to have, and it's just being good people. I don't know, just thinking about people.
And again, in social work, you like decades experience in this, you learn how to do that. And again, domestic violence, you got to build a trust on that. Gosh. And then homelessness, you got to build a trust on that. And again, money, some people don't want you to know what they're doing with their money, but they, again, want the counseling on how to fix it, or how to maybe not fix it, but do better with how they handle their money.
Yeah, and this is a little off topic, but I wanted to say this earlier too, because though the Financial Empowerment Center is a social service, and that typically brings in folks that are in more difficult circumstances, it's not always building out of some kind of dire pit that we work with. I mean, we had a few folks that were CEOs come in and talk, or people that were business owners, or things of that nature, people that were making six figures that just wanted a little extra help. And we were able to help folks, even in those capacities. That's not the majority of the folks that we would serve, of course.
But you do serve anybody.
But what you just said is there's always kind of that room to improve.
Right.
And the Financial Empowerment Center can take folks quite a long ways on that path. So Yeah.
That's. I mean, it's
If you
amazing.
can't tell, I'm very biased.
No,
about
look, I understand. I mean, again, from what you've done, I mean, your entire adult life, now being able to help out with this, where everybody's affected by money.
That's right.
Everybody.
That's right.
So to be able to counsel and make it, I mean, from people who make six figures to, those who aren't making six figures, it's a variety of people that the Financial Empowerment Center serves. Yeah. And I mean, the numbers, they show it. 138 families, and that includes the CEOs, and that includes anybody else who wants this free service. There's another free. Yeah. So you moved on from the Financial Empowerment Center, and now you are the director of the director of the Office of Financial Empowerment. Say that 3 times fast. Right. The director of the Office of Financial Empowerment. So, as the director of Financial Empowerment, what does that role do? I know there's the Financial Empowerment Center, and when we got this position of the director, I didn't know what it did. Like, are you over the Financial Empowerment Center? What do you do? So, as the director of the Office of Financial Empowerment, does the FEC and Financial Empowerment Center, FEC, is that under you, or do you run that? How does that work?
Yeah, this is actually really exciting for me to help work through some of the strangeness with the two things. For our residents and for the employees of the city and anyone who listens to this, hopefully I can iron out some of that. So if I'm painting with a really broad brush, my office, the Office of Financial Empowerment, oversees all types of financial stability type things for the citizens, of which the Financial Empowerment Center is one of those. So I operate on more of the higher end level of the Financial Empowerment Center. And so like this year, for instance, I'm going to be looking at more fundraising opportunities so that there's more expansion, which maybe we'll talk about. More partnership oriented work is what I'll do. What are the agencies we can bring in to partner with, to integrate with? Where does that make sense? And so I do more of the higher end level work with that. I'm also a liaison, right? So a lot of things and budget approvals have to go through City Council because the city supports the work financially at the Financial Empowerment Center with match funding, and there's grant funding that's also part of that. And so a lot of the inner workings with the FEC, the Financial Empowerment Center, also have to get run through the council. And so I'm kind of a liaison for that as well. But I like to say it this way. In all the cities in the U.S. where there is a Financial Empowerment Center and a me in office at the city end, like that's the perfect marriage, because you don't have one or the other operating in silos. You have those two entities working together. So I get to brag about the work of the FEC, and I get to promote that. I get to help build that up into something that it's not quite yet, or something that we want to reach and attain later on. But I also get to work on a lot of other things. And so, again, Jackson is unique and fun, and the mayor is fantastic because as a part of his mayor's office, he wanted something like this, right? He wanted an opportunity to put dollars and like the money where your mouth is for the city to say, actually, financial empowerment of our citizens is really important to us. So we need someone to think about and think through and work on these types of initiatives. And so before me, Christiana, and now me doing this role, and whoever else after me, if there is someone else, that's kind of how we're thinking about this. What are the things in town? What are the things like financial fraud awareness programs? What kind of things can we promote and put out? Things like children's savings accounts, which is something we can talk about, helping to get raised funds in a savings account for kindergartners starting kindergarten, and they can have access to that money when they graduate high school, for instance. Or, I don't know, there's a lot of flexibility and fluidity to what I do, but that's how I have to think. I have to think innovative, I have to think creative, I have to see what other cities are doing, and I come into this role with a program that's already successful, which is so fun.
Which is the
Financial Empowerment Center.
So you're so if there were other financial projects or financial entities like the FEC, if there was another financial thing or another financial thing, instead of them all working separately trying to get the same thing, you kind of umbrella all of it and just kind of bring them all together. Like, hey, here's how we can all work together.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly right. Something else that I'm anticipating working on in the next couple months is called Bank On, for instance,
Okay.
and it's essentially what you just said. It's an effort to bring all financial institutions and banking institutions together to offer a certain type of banking product to residents that maybe wouldn't have access because they don't
Okay.
have the credit score, they don't have the upfront deposit, they don't have, there's several things that those accounts would have.
Right.
And the banking institutions then have a coalition and they kind of collaborate with one another and they think about equity and how to reach populations in our city that maybe wouldn't go to a brick and mortar bank. So that's just one example to hit home what you're saying is, yeah, I'm constantly kind of doing the pulling in motion with all the different financial ideas and thoughts and institutions in town.
So, and we mentioned how Jackson is unique in West Tennessee, and we talked about how it's almost like the capital of West Tennessee. We have our meetings on our mayor's office meetings, and you've talked to me about other cities. We had one visit here recently, who's kind of trying to get a part of this. You're smiling because I know your excitement about this. Brownsville, I believe, Murfreesboro, other cities. What other cities have seen what we do and are wanting some kind of part of this? And how can we be a part of that, or how are we a part of that?
Yeah. So last year I have to celebrate a little bit. Last year we finally moved into. We've had a soft regional approach for the
Okay.
Financial Empowerment Center, one of the programs out of my office.
Right.
We've had a regional approach softly, meaning that, hey, if you live in Dyersburg and you want our services, you can call and we'll service you. And that's been well and good. But we just had our first counselor placed in another city. Her home base is Jackson. She's run out of the Jackson office, but she has an office in Brownsville
Okay.
where she can service the citizens of Brownsville, which is cool. City of Brownsville put up money. There's some money through grants that fund her position, so it's not Jackson City dollars necessarily funding that,
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense. But out of my office and out of the Financial Empowerment Center in Jackson, we now have a tangible regional approach presence in Brownsville and the surrounding counties. And it's fun. And so McKinsey is actually excited about that.
Okay.
I think in the next few months, actually, they're going to be moving towards the same thing that Brownsville has. But then, you have the Murfreesboros that are looking at us because we're a little closer in size to them than Nashville is, and they want to know how we do things.
So does Nashville have something like so? Like for Murfreesboro, are they wanting to base out of Jackson, or they're just trying to start their own? Or how is that working?
They probably would do their own.
Okay.
Is what they would do. They have a pretty large population seat there in the county and in the city.
Now, is this something that we would assist them with, or is this something that they would apply for to get the grant dollars? Because all of this, it started off as grant funding through the cities of financial empowerment.
Yeah.
So with Brownsville having someone from Jackson have a kind of a satellite office in Brownsville, and McKinsey, they're working, I guess they're going to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So for Murfreesboro, for their sake, would they try to do their own, or would they kind of try to have a satellite from us?
Yeah. Well, so I can speak to this in a different way, which is kind of neat. So the way that the Financial Empowerment Center is set up currently, they service all, I think it's 14 or 15 counties that United Way services. Because they sit inside of United Way. Though they're our program, they're administered by United Way, so they service the same counties that United Way services.
Okay.
And so, unfortunately, Murfreesboro wouldn't fall into that network, but they came last week, and man, I'm an open door talking to them and any other county that would look at us as kind of because we are the pilot for the rural, we have that smaller population seat.
Yeah.
If anyone across in East Tennessee listens to this and wants more information, wants to come for a site visit, I would love that. Okay. Eventually, probably what would happen is they would apply for a grant, or a city would do what we did and apply for that grant with Cities for Financial Empowerment. They'd go through the process, and they would have their own freestanding financial empowerment center, which would be pretty neat.
So, like, you mentioned how United Way services the 14 counties, and we have, like you said, the one in Brownsville with kind of a satellite. So this you mentioned something else. This isn't necessarily just you have to come in. You can call. Yeah. So any West Tennessee county, anyone listening, I'm gonna back up. Can anybody from any city, or are we just focusing right now just on West Tennessee? So if I live in, you know, Olive Branch, Mississippi, and I found out about Office of Financial Empowerment in Jackson, can I call to do that, or is it?
You are welcome to call.
Okay.
I probably would have to see if there's a financial empowerment center
Closer.
in your area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyone in our region, like you said, we're the hub. Anyone in that gosh, I can't remember the county, 14 county seat, whatever it is, and outside of excluding Memphis, because they also have their own.
Okay.
But anyone in that region, in our West Tennessee region, can absolutely call and receive services that we've talked about. Mm-hmm.
So if any other county or city mayor wants to reach out and say, hey, what can we do? They can call and possibly have a satellite or area there if they find the money to.
Man, yeah. Well, so we it was about 2 years ago. There was a big grant opportunity, and that was kind of got foiled. And I'm not going to go into all that, but Matt Marshall, the CEO of United Way, had this really grandiose plan to have a financial counselor placed all over West Tennessee, maybe 7, 8, 10 counselors. And I think that's still actually the dream in the future. If we keep getting funds and we keep proving the model, and our city and other cities buy into the process and the product, essentially, I'd love to have a counselor in Mart's places all around the region, so that, you can call if you want, but also you can go to a tangible person and speak to them in person and work through things together. So that's the end goal.
Awesome, man. How has the Brownsville, have y'all gotten any numbers from that? Just number of people possibly that
it's so new that there's probably not any meaningful numbers quite yet, but Nikki, who's our counselor there right now, she's killing the game. And shout out to her and Centresia and Eva, our newest bilingual counselor, which is fantastic.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, so we're excited about that. She's going to do some work in our Hispanic community here in town. And
wow, so we're reaching everybody.
Dude, I'm so pumped.
That's amazing. I mean, and you talk about how pumped you are. You've already, starting here, you've been all over. You've been at different conferences. What do you learn from those conferences, and what are you taking and what are you bringing back from what you learn? And are people in these other cities, these bigger cities that you visit, are they seeing what we're doing and like, wait a minute, where is Jackson, and how are they doing all of this? Kind of talk about what your experiences are at these conferences.
Yeah, in the 4 months I've been here, I feel like I've traveled almost as much as I've been in the office. That's not accurate, but it feels that way. I think one of the unique things about kind of the parent organization that initially did the grant for us, as an organization, they are fantastic. The Cities for Financial Empowerment, because they're really open-handed with information, and the conferences that they brought us into are very informative. And so I learned a lot from other cities. And also, like you said, there's a lot of cities, and the CFE themselves are kind of looking at us thinking, how's this going to go? Can we do a regional approach? Can we do a rural approach in other cities? And I think we're actually, like I said earlier in the conversation, it's fun to be kind of on the front end of this, because we're getting to prove to the nation and to CFE especially, so that they're willing to keep putting the grant money into these other areas, that this kind of model works. And as a part of that, they funded part of my position to be on the city end of things. And so I haven't been able to do anything totally unique yet. I'm doing things that other cities are doing. I'm doing like that I told you earlier, the children's savings account. I sent out an email this week actually to the design team, some of the folks that are going to be on that team, helping to work out the kinks and get it all situated so that we can launch that hopefully in the next year or so. And so other cities are doing things like that, so I'm honestly just stealing things from other cities that have worked really well and that are proven models that have helped create financial stability.
But for what you're doing, you're taking it more on a regional approach, because a lot of these cities are bigger cities. They're handling kind of just their city almost. Yeah,
for some of the programs, for the Financial Empowerment Centers is kind of its own thing, because I can do a regional approach with it. Some of the other things probably will have to be seated in Jackson, right? Whenever I'm raising city funds and things for the children's savings accounts, we're going to want that to go back to the city residents. That makes sense.
But what you can do is get that model here in the city, let it work for a while, and then, like we got Brownsville, other cities can be like, okay,
show us how to do
Show us how to do it.
Yeah, and I'm going to need people to help. So if you need another job, you can come.
He's talking to all of you out there. So it's an amazing thing to have, especially coming from city government. We're not trying to, it's free. We're
It
not
is
trying
free.
to take anything. We're trying to help others. You know, we're not giving money. We're teaching other people, hey, here's how to raise. But of course, with the child savings account, we can talk about that. We're, I guess, starting it off. Well, let's just talk about the child savings account. I am up in age, 38. If I had
I've been wondering about
started,
that, by the way.
look, I think the youngest I've been at 30 was like 18. Someone thought I was 18.
Okay. Wow.
And I appreciate them for that. If I had started raising or saving my money, or someone started saving money for me as a kindergartner, and I stuck with it, of course, until I was 18, and I didn't do anything with it to where I am now. I've seen a bunch of different graphs and models of how much money a person could have, with interest and all of that stuff. I think about that and I'm like, okay, I got to do this for my child. I have to. Whether it's $25 now and just moving on up, just not messing with it. This child savings account idea, this project, I mean, in my mind, it sounds like one of the most amazing things that I wish I had.
Yeah.
I've heard about it. I've heard you talk about it. I've heard students talk about it. Explain to those who are watching and listening what the benefit that is, what it is, and why it's something that we should all, as citizens in Jackson, get behind.
Yeah, well, what's kind of fun about this conversation, Kenny, is if it all goes as scheduled and planned, your little girl will have access to this as long as you're in Jackson. Isn't that cool?
That's
The way that I like to frame this, because you have to be careful with some of the studies and the things that have been done on some of this across the nation. It's not an end-all, be-all, this will put your child in college fund. That's not what this is.
Okay.
Typically, the seed money, which is just the money that initially is deposited, that's there on the beginning, the front end for the child is smaller. We're talking $50. But there's points throughout the child's life in school where there's bonus opportunities if the family engages with Financial Empowerment Center, for instance, or if the child has good attendance, or you can do grades. There's other things we'll have to work through, but maybe at each one of those milestones, or they graduate from, elementary school and they go into high school, whatever it is, they graduate to high school. There's moments where bonus money can be put into those accounts. And so theoretically, a student could turn 18 and that account can be unlocked, quote unquote, for them, and they could have maybe $1,000, maybe $1,500, maybe a couple thousand. Or if the family did really well and they were able to put a lot in, the grandparents put money in, maybe they'd have $5,000 ready for them when they graduated 18. So let me back up and just say, really the hope for the Children's Savings Account, and I just said the word, is actually to cultivate and build hope in families, especially families that may not have access to a brick and mortar bank, that don't have or are unfamiliar with how banks work, haven't really interacted with that, haven't been taught about savings, haven't been given the opportunity to do some of those things. This is one of those things to take a big old step right into the middle of all of that and say, here's an opportunity, and you didn't have to do anything for it. It's just free. Ding.
There's that.
And it's available to you right now. And so hope is probably one of the biggest things we're trying to do with that. But also, it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
Families engage with the students. Families engage with the Children's Savings Account program. There'll be counseling opportunities for the families, counseling opportunities. Now, when I say counseling, I'm talking financial counseling.
Right.
Financial counseling opportunities for the students as they get old enough to understand, And so that's the fun part of it. When a child turns 18, depending on what the design team decides with it, that money is ready, and if they want to pursue certifications, they want to pursue training, they want to go to college, they want to go get an associate's degree, go to barber school, beauty school, whatever it is, that money's there for them.
Yeah.
And so that's the hope,
And so we'll get into the money part of it, but let me start with this. 18 years old, it's $5,000. Let's just say, just hypothetically, there's $5,000 in there. Can this 18-year-old, is there a parameter? Do they have to use it for education, or is it their $5,000 in the hope that they continue to, with the financial counseling that they've gotten, the hope that they continue to, okay, let me see what happens when I turn 25.
Yeah.
Let me not mess with it. Let me see what happens when I turn 25. What that $5,000, who can they have access to it just for themselves, or do they have to do college, or
Yeah.
have y'all made that plan yet?
Yeah, so the answer to that is stay tuned.
Okay. Hey, that's I like that.
Yeah, other cities do it differently.
Okay.
Cities that have implemented something like this,
Mhm.
they do it different. Some, it's just, if you want to go buy $1,000 worth of clothes, or $50 if nothing, they got no bonus money, they just had
Yeah.
50. If you want to spend on clothes, go buy clothes.
So
Some will say room and board will accept
Okay.
that, and some will say if it's not tuition only, then, so I'm somewhere in the middle, you know.
Okay.
I don't want free for all, and I don't want to be too specific,
Right.
because we want it to be accessible, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to the money part. It's a child savings account or city government. Where is this money coming from? Other than the parents and grandparents adding to it as well, where is this money coming from? Like, to start it, where is it coming from? Whose money is this?
Yeah, I'm gonna scoot closer to the mic
Yeah,
here
that's,
for
that's
this.
yeah.
So if anyone out there wants to donate some money, I say that kind of tongue in cheek.
Mhm.
Eventually, we will have to raise more funds for the bonus money and things like that. But initially, what's really great, and man, kudos to our city and our county, the representatives, the mayors, for this. We've essentially had our leaders that are in office currently say, I see this as an important investment, and we're willing to put up a little bit of the equity on the front end, a little bit of the money on the front end. And so, at least initially, I don't know how long that'll last. I don't know how long the city and the council and everyone will say this seems like a worthwhile endeavor. But that first level of seed money that we do, probably August of next year, not this year, will likely come from the city, and maybe some match funding from a foundation. I don't know yet, a banking institution.
Okay.
But eventually, yeah, I'm going to be walking around with my hands open,
Yeah.
asking, hey, does anyone want
So it's not necessarily anybody can donate to this. Like you say, if a financial institution sees this as, okay, we don't have to do this ourselves, we can go into, helping out the city instead of making our own thing, starting, creating the wheel themselves. Mm-hmm. They know where it's going. They know once the entire plan happens, they'll know exactly where this money is going. They can be a part of it. So any financial institution, any company, can be a part of this.
Yeah, individual, anyone. That's one of the great things about being philanthropic, where you can donate money like that, is to be able to say, I don't have to do all the legwork on the front end, but I believe in what the service and the product is or is going to be, right? It's going to be 18 years before we see this fully realized.
Right.
What does it mean for someone graduating? We can look at other cities, but we don't know until someone turns 18. But for someone that thinks, man, that is a really great, equitable, intelligent way to use my money and my donation funds, then please, have a conversation with me.
Wow.
So I'll be throwing that pitch around in the next year or so for sure.
So that'll be the next pitch after the free.
Yeah, that's right.
So
after the free.
So how old, or your plans for this? Do they have to, all right, once they get into kindergarten or once they're born? Because I know some financial institutions have where you can start a savings account for a newborn and just keep it until they're 18 or however old. Yeah. Is this newborn, or have to start kindergarten, or is that another stay tuned?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Probably kindergarten, but stay tuned.
Well, hey, when the word gets out, as communications director, when you let me know, hey, we're ready to launch this, we're going to launch it between us and United Way, who's part of it. So will this also be something like through the United Way, or is this under your jurisdiction, I guess, as the director?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Hey, that's what I love about this. I love the fact that we want people to be prepared for what's coming. Yeah. And for this, again, money it affects everybody. Yeah. And to be able to save money starting off as a child, man, I think about it all the time. I mean, I'm sure you do too. If you started earlier,
compounding interest is a real thing.
Oh my gosh. I see the graphs. Hey, you could have, if you start at 5 years old versus starting now, look how much you would have had as a 5-year-old now. It's crazy. So this child savings account, is that like one of the biggest ideas, projects that you have? Or let me ask, do you have any fresh or original ideas? If it's another stay tuned, that's fine, but do you have any that you want to implement that you've not necessarily seen from other cities or these conferences that you've been to? Are there any that it's like, okay, let me try this out? Because I don't know any other city that has a podcast.
Yeah.
So I just want to try something out.
Yeah.
7 lessons in, it's going good. So do you have any ideas that you?
Yes, there's a few things that are cooking in the background. I'll be honest, the children's savings accounts and getting that situated, and even things we're talking about, where when people donate money, where is that going to sit? Is it going to sit with United Way, or is it going to sit at the city, or how's all that going to work? That's taken a lot of my mental capacity, as well as the Financial Empowerment Center, which is already up and running. And I'm Jordan Howerton, shout out to him. Yeah. He's my buddy, and he's killing the game over there as well as the manager. He and I are working through partnerships for the FEC and making sure that process it makes sense and it works. And so I say those two things are taking most of my mental capacity. I'm also doing presentations and going around talking about financial things. But one of the things that I am excited about that I have been kind of thrusted into, but it's good, I'm excited about it, is just housing access. When I was a financial counselor, that was one of the most difficult things. There were several clients we got to a point where in pre-COVID timeline, they would have been in a good spot to be a homeowner. But because of inflation and all the things that everyone already knows about, the same house that was $40,000 then is $110,000 now. If that. I don't even know how many houses are less than 100,000 in Jackson right now that are livable, right? And so with the homelessness situation that we're all at the city trying to think intelligently about and work on, a part of that is housing access. And I find myself thinking about that a lot, Kenny. Are there some really interesting and creative ways? And I actually got off a call today with my working group. We're working on housing access as a group. And we're just ping-ponging ideas back and forth with one another. And I feel like this is my hope, this is my prayer, that at some point in those conversations, we'll land on what you just asked me, which is that really interesting, unique, creative idea that not many cities have thought about. And I don't know that we're quite there yet, but that's probably the next in line of things that I'm excited about. Bank On is something else I'm excited about. That's going to come down the pipeline probably sooner than housing access will. So that's going to be a long journey. Those are probably the top 3 or 4 things. Okay.
So you there are things brewing. They just haven't really gotten a solid, firm foundation yet because all the other great things that you have that are going on.
Yeah. I also like to use the new guy excuse. I'm the new guy.
You're the new guy. But you've been doing this for over a decade, the social work part.
That's
so
true,
you know what you're doing, but you're the new guy when it comes to the financial empowerment part. Tyler, again, this is the Financial Empowerment Center. It's free financial counseling at the Financial Empowerment Center. Tyler Carr, the director of the Office of Financial Empowerment. We'll definitely have you on even more. We'll talk about the greater things that you got going on. Thank you for coming on for Lesson 7. So it's an amazing thing to be a part of this, especially seeing it from the start to where it is now and the progress that you all have been doing at the FEC and just as the office as a whole. So I appreciate you coming on for Lesson 7 to give the people the understanding of what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it. So I appreciate you coming on. So it's time for pop quiz. Pop quiz, of course, it's not necessarily a quiz. It's not multiple choice. It's just 3 questions of my guests, who they are, what they do. Just a little fun thing that we do here at East Main 101. So pop quiz for Tyler. Question number 1. If there were one meal that you could eat every day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, that's easy. Pizza.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to make this more specific. What kind of pizza? It can't just be generally pizza. It has to be a specific pizza that you would eat every day. Crust, toppings, all of that.
Rockin' Dough Smoker's Pie.
Rockin' Dough Smoker's Pie.
Yeah.
What's on that?
I don't even know. It's just good. It's got meats and onion, and I don't eat cheese. I don't know.
Rockin' Dough's. Okay. So I'm one of those creatures of habit. When I go to restaurants, I get the same thing. So the people may just turn this off once they hear my toppings on my pizza. But I swear by it. I go to the restaurant, Rock and Dough, and I get the slice with chicken, bell pepper, and yes, I am a pineapple eater. I love pineapple on pizza. It's amazing. Don't knock it until you try it. I love pineapple on pizza. That is the same thing I get. I wish they could just call it the Kenny because that's all I get. I don't know if anybody else gets that.
That sounds great.
It's amazing.
Except I would do jalapeno probably.
No, chicken, bell pepper, pineapple, Caesar salad, no bacon. That is my meal.
The Kenny.
The Kenny. I wish they would call it that. That should be on the menu. But I don't think enough people eat pineapple on pizza for it to be a staple there. But as far as the meal that I would eat, it wouldn't be pizza. So I love greens. My mom makes some amazing greens. She uses mustard greens and collard greens. And where's it turnip? It's one of them. I think it's collard.
What's the difference, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a different plant, I'm sure.
Exactly. One's a little thicker, but she cooks it with like turkey neck. So I could eat greens, turkey neck with the way my mom does sweet potatoes, cornbread. I could eat that every day for the rest of my life. And I would love it if I had a pot right here. I would eat it right now. I think about it all the time. So whenever I go home and mom makes greens, she gives me these pint and I put them in the freezer. And I can eat greens every day, man.
So you're going to bring me some is what you're saying.
So whenever my mom, I'm going to make sure she watches this episode. Mom, when we make some more greens, I got to bring some for Tyler so he can try it.
I'd be so happy.
I love greens.
I do too.
So that would be my meal. So pizza. All right.
It's just easy. Well, you threw a wrench in it, but my idea with pizza is like the versatility.
Okay.
Creature of habit, versatility.
So
like change the pizza every day, but it's like pizza is my meal.
All right. So here's a question.
Okay.
Is pizza a sandwich or a taco?
My mind's blown.
Yeah. I'll have to show you that video. So pizza is actually
a New York pizza would be a taco.
Yeah, if you fold it, it's a taco, but it also can be a sandwich.
Stop.
So I'll have to send you that link to that video that I watched. I think it's called "Is Pizza a Sandwich" or something like that.
My mind's broken.
It's a pretty cool video. So, pop quiz question number 2. What are your top 5? If you don't have 5, we can go with 3 pieces of financial advice that you would give to someone who needs it.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
No particular order.
So I would say the first is the word that no one wants to hear, which is budgeting.
You can say that word all day. I love that word.
Do you have Excel sheets?
I don't have
Do you
Excel
have
sheets. I have an app. I have an app,
man.
and I put all of my bills. Oh, budgeting, that is one of my favorite words.
That's good
one
stuff.
One of my favorite words.
All right. I'm going to bring you in and have you talk about some stuff.
That'll work.
Yeah, if you don't know what you're spending and where your money's going, then what you said at the beginning of the conversation, which was great, is then your money's running you.
Yeah.
You're not running your money. So that's number one.
Okay.
I think second, most talking heads out there would probably agree with me in the financial space would be probably emergency savings, like $500. Because it's gonna happen.
It's my language, man.
Something's gonna happen.
I'm loving this language.
Yeah, it's like one in 2 people in West Tennessee are a flat tire away from financial emergency because they don't have the money set aside for what would be 2 tires or whatever, $500 worth of expenses.
Yeah.
So emergency fund would probably be the second thing. Then probably moving into some kind of debt payoff.
Okay.
I don't know, especially if you have smaller debts that are psychologically easy to pay off.
Yeah.
That $1,000 loan that you got, that credit card bill that's a little higher than you meant for it to be. It just feels good to pay stuff off.
Sure.
There's some psychological kickback, and then you can work towards the bigger stuff, the car, the mortgage, or whatever else you have. Gosh, what is that? Am I at 3?
That's 3.
I would say maybe credit is on their list. Maybe it's not top 5, but it's on there somewhere. There's so many things that require credit.
Mm-hmm.
There are some prominent financial figures out there that say you don't have to have credit altogether, and maybe you could find workarounds, but for most people, for most of the time, you're going to have credit.
Mm-hmm.
And credit's actually not that difficult of a thing as long as you have some cash flow to build.
Okay.
So credit would be up there, and then I would just say more savings beyond the emergency fund.
Right.
And then how about a 6th?
Okay.
Free financial counseling.
Free financial counseling. I'm gonna have to put a count on that. I might put it in the caption how many times you said free. So I'm gonna have to watch this one over and hear that word free. I'll say it a few more times. Like you said 2 is your number when you talk about this. I'd start going with free.
Okay.
So whenever you're doing a presentation, make sure free is in there 3 times. So
rolls off the tongue.
All of those, all 6 of those, that's my kind of language. And I mean, the story of my financial life, not going to get too deep into that because, again, money is something that people don't like talking about. Yeah. But as a kid, my mom would always tell me, when you grow up, when you get those credit, you throw them away. Yeah. So all through almost all my adulthood, it was just, I see it, throw it away.
Bad.
Until I got to a point where, okay, I can manage something. Mm-hmm. So the budgeting, that is number 1 for me. I want to make sure, okay, it's going here. This is how much I have left. I'm one of those, like, if I don't need it, I'm not going to get it. If I want it, I'll budget to make sure, okay, I can spend a little more on myself this time. That's I can get some shoes.
You can get to the point where you're budgeting in, like, I have a little bit of like flex spending amount that I plan for.
That I plan for. Yeah, I can spend a little more on me this month, but next month, let me wait. Okay, so the thing we used to talk about budgeting as like your backyard, and budgeting is actually the fence around your yard. So it actually prevents you from going further than you meant to, but it keeps you safe and contained. Right. And so, like, you wouldn't just let your little girl in the future run out into the woods back in your backyard. Not at all. You would want a fence, and anywhere in that fence, she can run around, do whatever she wants to, because all of that stuff you planned and is safe. And I can see her.
Yeah. And that's what the budget does. That's what the budget does for you.
See where the fence is the budget. I can see where my money is. It's not going beyond that fence.
Okay, so for the audience, residents, city employees, whoever, what app are you using?
I think it's just called Checkbook. It's just a generic one, but I'll show it to you after this. It's pretty cool.
So every dollar is another one that a lot of folks use. That's from Dave Ramsey. There's a free version of it. I think Mint has one, and there's some other more technical ones. Yeah. But
it shows me everything. At the end of the year, I can have it as an Excel sheet and see what I've done. It gives me my graphs of each month, what I've spent. If I've spent more than, it's like, okay, this red line doesn't need to be higher than it was last month. And this green line, I need to make sure it stays where it needs to be. So it's helped me out in my adult life. I've been using that, probably since I started working here in Jackson in 2010. And, of course, the app's had different updates, but I swear by it. Oh, my gosh. I love it.
I've got an advocate. That's good.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you want to talk financial stuff, I might not be the best at it, but as just a regular old human being who's done what he needs to do to make sure he's happy and stable, I can talk to you about it.
All right.
Let me know.
Cool.
All right. That was pop quiz question number 2. You've got your top 6. And that 6th one is most important, the free financial counseling.
That's right.
All right, so pop quiz question number 3. During COVID, Mayor Conger, our boss, was dubbed Mayor with the Good Hair.
Oh, no.
So I came in second place. I used to have 14 years worth of locks on my head. Right. So people was like, okay, Kenny's hair is pretty dope too. Yeah. So I cut it off because I got tired of it. So during his Facebook live streams, I would be on to kind of, filter out the questions. And a lot of questions people would ask was, what was his process and what products does he use? Y'all look at this man's hair.
Kenny.
When he first came, I was like, that's a good set of hair, or however you want to say it. I don't know, set of hair. It's good hair on his head. Yeah. What is your process, and maybe share the products that you use? I mean, it's like it's movie star hair, man. I might do it in slow motion and put some sparkles behind you or something. I might actually probably have to zoom in and show that glorious hair. Talk about, do you have a process? Do you use product? What is it that makes that hair on your head do what it does?
For this question alone, I'm going to have to ask my mom to listen to this.
Okay.
Because she was a beautician for years and always did my hair.
There it is.
And she's going to be like, that's my boy's hair.
Okay. Has it always been
the same?
Wow.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Product, guys, the process. Yeah, so I think currently I'm using it's Harry's. Have you seen the brand Harry's?
Yes, yes.
It's like a putty. It's the one of the I guess they're all blue. All the containers are blue, but it's just a Walmart.
Okay.
It's nothing special. And then I use my wife's hairspray. It's like Tresemme, whatever that brand is.
I mean,
I don't
do
know.
what it takes to get like that. Yeah, go
she
for it.
doesn't see. I just kind of get a little, you know, yeah. And then you use gosh, I feel a little nerdy right now. This is funny. To get volume in this kind of hair, you use like a round brush with bristles and a hair dryer.
Yeah.
And so you kind of flip it up and get the hair blown at an angle. Gosh,
Nice.
I just lost brownie points with Hassel Jackson. And so you do that, spray it with hairspray, and then you just kind of break it back. So it takes literally, I can do it if I'm in a rush, 2 minutes.
Wow.
So it's really nothing. It sounds like it's a lot, but it's nothing special.
I mean, if you didn't say it, people would probably think it's a lot.
This is an hour hairstyle. No, it's not.
No. So mom, it's funny. My wife and I were talking about, just growing up, and she mentioned to me, she's like, I've always wondered what it was like to have a parent who did stuff, like a parent who sews, who makes your clothes, or a parent who does your hair.
Mm-hmm.
How was that growing up? Like, mom, you never had to worry about anybody like cutting your hair. Mom would take care of that for you.
Yeah, you know the saying, you don't know what you got till it's gone.
That's true.
Yeah, that first moment when I was outside of the house in college, I guess I was, and I was like, who's going to cut my hair? What in the world? I got to go somewhere? What is this?
So for me, I just grew mine out because I had someone to cut my hair in college. And when I graduated, it was like, all right, I don't trust anybody, because when it comes to, in the black community, you stick with the same person.
Right.
So when I first got my hair twisted, I went to somebody and I combed it out. And then I saw one of my friends who had his hair locked. I was like, hey, who do you go to? He said he went to his cousin. So for 14 years, I stuck with the same loctician. When I moved to Jackson, nobody here. I would drive to Memphis every month, and then again every 3 months. And she would retwist my hair.
That's commitment.
That's commitment, man. And I told her, I was like, look, I'm telling you because I'm just tired of it, and it's hard on the travel. I'm gonna cut my hair. I didn't cut it. I cut it because I wanted to. Honestly, the story is I woke up one morning, put a shirt on, and flipped my hair out, and I said, oh my gosh, I'm tired of doing this. So I got tired of having to flip my hair out. Yeah. It's like, I'm gonna cut it off. So. Best decision I ever made.
I was gonna say, did you have haircut remorse?
I did not.
Okay.
The last lock I cut, my head just kind of fell back because the hair was heavy, but it just felt so loose. And first time I jumped in the pool, it was just, oh my gosh, I can actually go under and not be heavy when I come up.
Oh yeah.
Wife loves it.
Oh, I'm sure.
And also, money wise, I don't spend anything on my head. I make sure I shave it or what I need to, and replace the blade. But I was spending travel money. I would have to drive to Memphis, get my hair retwisted.
That's too much, buddy.
It was a lot.
That's too much.
So I learned, and this is another thing, is making sure you do what you need to do to work your money and not let it work you. And it's like it was a lot, but cut it off.
Maybe I should embrace the bald with you. I don't know.
No, man. No,
don't do it.
No,
okay.
Don't do it. Like. I can't. First of all, I can't. Now I've seen you like this. You give off kind of like a Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange thing, especially with those streaks you got going on. Like that's the silver streaks you got.
Maybe we should have a hair off between me and the mayor. Have the citizens vote on it. Or somebody. I don't know.
Wow. So
cool.
Mom was a beautician, and use your wife's products. That's fine. Does she know this?
Yeah, she
knows. Okay. Are you helping her get new stuff?
Yeah, all the time. I know the product. I can go, hey Tyler, get me some hairspray. I got you, babe. I got you.
You know exactly what you need because you use it.
That's right.
Totally understand. Tyler Carr, thank you again for coming on the episode. Lesson 7 of East Main 101. The director of the Office of Financial Empowerment. An amazing program, especially with the free financial counseling of the Financial Empowerment Center, located at the United Way, correct?
Here in Jackson.
Jackson.
I've got a phone number for it if
Yeah, go ahead. Give the phone number.
Yeah.
You can talk to the camera right there. And
so Financial Empowerment Center, if you'd like free financial counseling, 731-891-3355. And you'll speak to Jordan Howerton, who is the regional director. I think is his actual title. So.
Regional. Wow, we've gone for just cities.
He's my buddy. Yeah,
That's awesome, man. And we'll also have the link in the description below, and also it'll be right down here at the lower thirds. Again, Tyler, thank you for coming on.
Thank you,
Lesson
Kenny.
7. I look forward to talking to you more about the financial world, and we'll have you on some more for
maybe we can do some topical things,
We may be able to do that. Mm-hmm. So lesson 7, your homework for lesson 7, Tyler, we do have homework. It is to visit our website, the Office of Financial Empowerment website. You can visit ofe.JacksonTN.gov. The link will be in the description below. ofe.JacksonTN.gov. And if you need that free financial counseling, you can sign up on that website. So that's your homework for today. Just browse around again if you want to be a part of this, learn more, read about it, sign up to get that free financial counseling. I think we're probably like 25, 30 frees at this point.
For sure.
We like the sound of that. So that'll do it for East Main 101 Lesson 7 with the Director of the Office of Financial Empowerment, Tyler Carr. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media pages. Like, subscribe, share. Let us know how we're doing. And when it comes to this free financial counseling, visit the website ofe.JacksonTN.gov. You can subscribe to East Main 101 by visiting eastmain101.JacksonTN.gov. And until next week, class dismissed.